everybody. Welcome back to a overdue episode of another Bourbon Show. I hope everybody had a happy holiday. No, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas.
Wow.
We're starting it off that way.
Yeah, we're putting our foot down. This
Putting our
is
foot down.
2024. We're different.
I'm tired of this war on Christmas.
We're keeping the Christ and Christmas here on another
That's
Bourbon
right.
Show.
Absolutely, we are. No, but hope everybody had a great holiday season. We are celebrating the holiday season by having a episode focused on 3 different bottles that folks have provided to us, and we're going to drink them and tell everybody what we think about them. So tonight we're going to be drinking 3 different whiskeys. We're going to be drinking some Sacred Stave, which we've had on the show before. This was originally provided to me by my buddy who now lives in Arizona. He joined us for that episode, Tony Gillum. We are going to be drinking some Asbury Park, joined by Stephen and I's friend Kelly from Asbury Park Distilling, and I worded that exactly how I meant it. And we're going to be drinking some Southern Star Paragon. This was provided recently by a follower of ours on Instagram. So I'm excited to try that because that's the one we have not had on this show before.
Well,
Steve,
I know which one. I know which one will be my least favorite. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not.
I know.
Ryan, there's something about your camera right now where it looks like you have a green screen behind you.
It's not. It's my real.
It's like the lighting is like so much different on you anyway.
I think it's because I have my monitors are just white next to me. Do you think should I get rid of that? Does it look better or worse?
It looks more natural for sure.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, see this?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
So we're not going to do a full rating, I don't think, because Stephen, you've rated this before. You rated it highly.
I can tell you what my favorite is of the 3.
Okay.
Yeah, could you give me a quick show me just once more?
I only have 2 hands, so here's
That's
2
fine.
of them.
Okay.
And
I think it's gonna. I like the Sacred Stave one, but I think it's gonna probably be between Asbury Park and the Southern Star, and I think I'm leaning Asbury Park pretty hard because I think there's something about the Southern Star, and no offense to it, we haven't tried it yet. The Southern Star has a cheaper quality because I don't like that font. You know what I mean? There's something about it. It could be great juice and whatnot, but it does look a little bit. It wouldn't shock me to hear that this was, like a Total Wine type house label or something. And I don't know exactly what that quality is.
yeah, I agree with you absolutely. I know for a fact that this is a craft distillery out of North Carolina.
I figured it was, but
it's kind of a complete ripoff of the Lone Star beer line, the beer label for Lone Star. Do you know that beer out of Texas? Oh, the Texas beer? I figured it's if you watch True Detective, it's the beer that the can that Matthew McConaughey's character is messing around with.
I think I probably had Lone Star when I lived in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see. Yeah, you probably can't see my phone, but yeah.
If only we had better technology for me to do it in post and just show the people, but we don't have that. So I'll just instead I'll zoom in on a picture of Ryan's fucking blurry phone.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, that's actually very similar. You're right.
It's very close. I thought that was a Texas whiskey at first.
Nope, it's North Carolina. It is. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But it's out of Statesville, North Carolina. But, yeah. So that's kind of the rundown. So you said that this is your favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay.
But I'll give a 10 to that painting you got behind you. Shout out to the cat painting.
Have I shown the painting to you guys before?
I think you have before.
Yeah.
I want to say we've gone into great detail on that painting. I love that painting.
I love this painting so much.
Yeah.
I love the 3 legs on one side. It just cracks me up. I saw this at a silent auction. And
for the Metro East Humane Society, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is that a silent auction event for them? I saw it and I was just like, oh, I've got to have that. I love that. It spoke to me,
If you ever,
I'm an art connoisseur, so I had to.
if you ever are in a scenario where, you know, your family, you're moving or something like that, you're like, man, I got to get rid of some of the stuff as much as I love it. Whatever you paid for that, I'll give you triple. Okay.
That would still not be much. Let's put it that way. But you're not prying that out of my dead hands. That's going to the grave with me. I seriously just love that painting, and Annie gives me shit about it all the time. But I love the painting. So, but hey, what do you say we have a sip of some Sacred Stave?
Let's do it.
So, just a reminder on this one. This is a Arizona bourbon whiskey Cabernet cask finish. Comes in at 90 proof. It is produced, aged, and bottled at Santan Spirits out of Chandler, Arizona. And I remember we really enjoyed this before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have not had it since then, I don't think. But cheers, guys.
Yeah. Cheers. Looking forward to it.
Cheers.
Big thanks to Tony for sending this to us.
I have a bottle of New Riff right now that smells almost exactly like this on the nose,
Yeah.
which is really good. It's a good nose. It's a sort of a light, fruity-ish nose, maybe. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the nose has a little bit of sweetness to it. I pick up the wine finish to it. It's not that it's a strong wine nose, but like you pick up some of the wine uh essence from the on the nose, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's just a good bottle. It's like it's 90 proof, but I get plenty of flavor out of it. Um it's got a nice hug to it. It's got a nice finish. Just all around a good bottle, I think.
It's solid. Easy to drink too. A good hug, but
Yeah.
leaves you wanting more. I get what you're saying with like the Cabernet finish too. It's not like there's not tannins in the whiskey, but like it reminds you of like that dry red wine, like mouthfeel when you're drinking red wine and the smell on it. Where you get a lot of that oak and all that. Yeah, it's good. I like it. Sippable.
Yeah. And I think that this is one of those this is a whiskey that is kind of like a Michter's, where like if I tasted this and didn't know it was 90 proof and you told me it was 105 proof, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. Because it's got plenty of flavor to it. You get plenty of punch along with it. You don't get a whole lot of alcohol kick, but a good whiskey, you don't necessarily get a punch in the face from alcohol, even though it's a higher proof. But it's got plenty of flavor that comes along with that 90 proof.
Yeah, I would love to try more from this distillery. And yeah, I feel like if I was in Arizona, this would be a no-brainer. I'd buy all the time,
Mhm.
because it's nice to support, whiskey from your home state because I can't imagine there's a ton of local whiskey happening in Arizona, though I could be wrong. But between Arizona and Nevada with the smoke wagon, I feel like there's a real renaissance happening in the West. And maybe this is just my own ignorance of what that scene looks like, but two really great distilleries, it seems like.
Well, don't forget that Smoke Wagon does not distill their whiskey.
Right. However,
Um,
that guy he has a phenomenal social media presence.
oh, he absolutely does.
And two, he's got a great palate.
Yes, he
You know.
does.
So yeah, what you're making a fair point, but all I mean is supporting local companies and whatnot. And I would be buying this all the time if I was in Arizona. And I know that they do distill their whiskey.
Yes.
But that I feel like this is to your point about it being like feeling like it's right around 105 or so proof. There's something about this where it's a great sipper, but also I feel like it would mix really well too because of the strong prominent notes. So this would be a staple in my bar if I lived in the area.
Yeah, for sure. When on your note about distilleries out west, I just really wish that there was a good local craft distillery out of Utah. Unfortunately, the only craft distillery I know that's out of Utah just makes shit whiskey.
Yeah.
And if what are they called? Outlaw?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they were all there for January 6th too.
obviously.
Yeah.
I just wish that they made something worth a shit. And if they made something good, you'd think that they'd send it to us for us to give it a try.
Well, yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, kind of weird. I didn't get any of that, but yeah, whatever you guys say.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a weird thing that a state like Utah doesn't have a good craft distillery. I mean, I guess you could consider High West. They make good stuff.
Yeah.
At least they used to.
Yeah, you know who's a piece of shit is Connor Kelly.
Yeah.
You're so subtle.
That man's a racist, okay? That man is a racist.
Yeah.
He especially hates the Irish.
Oh, we were talking about who we hope shows up on Epstein's list. Connor Kelly.
Connor Kelly. Outlaw whiskey, the official bourbon of Epstein Island.
Oathkeeper's choice.
While you wear a C-SPAN shirt. What's your shirt actually say? C-SPAN and chill.
Yeah, buy it on the C-SPAN store. Support independent media.
Oh, is it actually from their website?
Yeah, it's from the C-SPAN store. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I love C-SPAN. They kill it, man. Have you guys ever, like, when was the last time you listened to just like C-SPAN calls, like about like the pulse of the fucking nation?
It's been a hot minute, man.
Yeah,
It's
never
brutal,
for me.
man. It is brutal.
So I was gonna say we should move on to the next glass, but Ryan, since you poured 2 full ounces,
Yeah, that was a bad move on my part.
that's pretty dumb, dude.
Yeah, it was. I'm just probably gonna get another glass.
Or you could slam that right now.
I could.
You don't have a hair on your ass. You won't do it.
You're not gonna guilt me into doing it, dude.
12 seconds later.
Who didn't see that coming? How was it?
Good.
Yeah?
Easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Still think it could, like, when you slam it like that, did it have like the flavor of like 105 proof, or was it like, no, that's 90?
No, definitely like after slamming it like that, it's very peppery.
Really?
Like black pepper, yeah. Got spice to it.
Okay. Because I didn't get a whole lot of pepper or spice.
Yeah,
sipping it.
chugging it like that, yeah.
I get
was
that
nice.
a little bit. I can see that because I pick up that a little bit on the palate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Steven, you ready to move on to Asbury Park?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let's move on to Asbury Park. This was the winner of the bottle label comparison right here. I do think that that's a really pretty label.
It is nice.
I think that the blue is a really beautiful blue color. And then with the gold and the white, I think it just goes really well. And the little image right there, that's nice too, right? Like that's a nice touch.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I like how Asbury Park looks. I like that font.
Yeah.
It's not overused at all. Like you don't see characters that look like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. And this one is, of course, signed by Kelly and the master distiller. That was a request I had.
Who are now one and the same.
Kelly is the master distiller. That's correct. But for this bottle, she was not. And then she came on the show when we drank this, and Ryan fucked up that whole relationship for us. Because he's a piece of shit.
I'm a Taylor Swift fan. She just wasn't listening.
All right, so Asbury Park Distilling. This is out of Asbury Park, New Jersey. Famous for Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Stone Pony is a small.
Springsteen's first album alluded to it. Greetings from Asbury Park.
It was Live from the Stone Pony, I think.
No, his first album was Greetings from Asbury Park.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for correcting me.
Yeah.
But it's a very cool little music venue. Asbury Park. It's just an awesome place. They got a cool boardwalk. Went through some really rough times. There were a bunch of syringes that got washed up from the New York. So New York City used to just dump their trash out in the middle of the ocean. A bunch of syringes washed up on the Asbury Park beach. They were kind of famous for that for a while, but they cleaned it up and it's a beautiful town now, from what I understand. So that's a good thing. But they've got this little distillery there, and we've had batch 3 and batch 4. This is batch 4, and they make some really great whiskey. Comes in at 92 proof. You can go to asburypark.com, I think, or AP. I don't know. Fucking Google it. And
Probably AsburyParkDistillery.com or something like that.
Yeah. And then you could also get it from online from a retailer that focused on wine. I don't know. Look for it. If you see it, buy it. It's fantastic stuff. But what do you say we give this a pour?
Let's do it.
92 proof. It's got a nose. This nose reminds me more of a American single malt.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Very kind of yeasty, bready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Very yeasty.
Reminds me of that Stranahan's one that we had a little bit.
It's funny too, because I don't think that whenever I first had it, I don't think I picked up on that nearly as much. But it's got like a yeasty, doughy nose to it.
Also reminds me of the Weeder, of course. I probably said that in the original episode too.
Probably. I don't remember that. I don't think this is a weed. It's not weeded though, I don't think. It doesn't say whether it is or it isn't.
Could be.
And it doesn't taste like that. It doesn't taste like the nose.
Yeah, I'm just surprised by how much yeast and unbaked dough I'm getting on the nose.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I get that on the palate too.
I haven't sipped it, and it's been ages since I had a pour of this.
I can see what you're saying, Ryan, but it's so much lighter. Because if the nose wasn't that strong, the amount I get on the palate that kind of tastes like that, I wouldn't even bring it up probably.
Yeah.
It would be like maybe the 5th or 6th thing I would list. But because I'm looking for it, I can see it.
It's got a honey sweetness instead of like a caramel, deeper, kind of a sugary sweetness to it. Just easy to enjoy. I would not want to mix this.
I wouldn't want to mix this either, and I feel like it's far more acidic kind of tasting than the Sacred Stave is. I enjoy the Asbury Park, but I do feel like it would not be pleasant to drink multiple pours of this in one sitting.
Yeah.
There's some spice on the back end too.
For me, this one is not as good as the Sacred Stave, just directly comparing the two.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that this has a mustiness to it. And along with that acidity, I get like a mustiness to it, which I don't mind. Some people love, some people hate. It reminds me of I.W. Harper. Yeah, it's got a flavor that reminds me of I.W. Harper. Specifically the mustiness that comes from that bottle. And that bottle is a really beautiful bottle. It reminds me of something from like you would see in the background of Mad Men or like a 60s television show. Looks like it got pulled straight out of that. There, you see that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Doesn't that look like it came straight out of like a Mad Men episode or something straight out of the 60s?
I have a decanter that looks almost exactly like that, and Yeah, I really like the style.
Yeah. Or even the 40s. Like I could see that as like from the 40s even. Just classic. But anyway, that's got a it's pretty well known for having like a mustiness to it. And people who enjoy that tend to love IW Harper. And I could see people gravitating to this like that also.
Yeah.
I think that this is a fantastic pour. But one thing that to remember, I think, is we just said, Stephen and I, Ryan, you probably agree that we prefer the Sacred Stave over the Asbury Park. That's referencing specifically batch 4. Asbury Park, very similar to Stumpy's. Every batch is completely different from one another. They do not try to mimic each batch to be similar to the last. So if you don't like batch 4 from Asbury Park, or this doesn't sound appealing, give a listen to the episode where we drank batch 3, or find somebody who did a review of batch 5 or 6, because Asbury Park makes some fantastic stuff, and every batch is going to vary greatly. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I definitely preferred the last one we had, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And conversely, if this sounds amazing to you and you batch 4 just sounds delicious, that means you might not necessarily like batch 3, batch 5, batch 7, whatever. Okay. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And buy multiples if you really like it, because, each one's not coming back.
Correct. Exactly right. And if you're in the Asbury Park area, go see Kelly. Tell her we said hi. Tell her you think Ryan's full of shit and a piece of trash also, and maybe she'll give you a free bottle. Who knows?
Could happen.
And they do have a bar, right? I believe
They
so.
do.
So you can go in, try out what the latest offering is, and go home with a bottle if you like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they've got more than whiskey. All right, who wants to move on to Southern Star?
Oh, I would love to move on from this whiskey.
Not a fan?
It's all right.
No, elaborate. I want to hear you elaborate, right?
It's just young. It's just
I
young.
heard you like them young.
I'm not fucking Jeffrey Epstein, dude. Jesus.
No, you weren't fucking Jeffrey Epstein, but you were there to fuck. No, I'm
Steven's like, Jesus, I can't use any of this.
Your webcam is so fucked, man.
Oh, here we go. Might flick it. Here, I'll give it a punch for you guys. Ready?
Is this the integrated webcam?
This is the nice webcam that I bought for $150.
What brand is it?
I thought so.
Logi, L-O-G-I.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Which model?
I have no idea. Does it say it on here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's HD 1080p.
Okay.
Here, I'm punching it for you guys too. Keep that in, dude.
But Jacob sent this to us. He's a listener. Interacted with him a little bit on Instagram. Seems like a really good dude. And he gave us free liquor. So he's obviously a really good dude. This is a craft distillery that's out of his neck of the woods. He wanted us to give it a try. So he contacted us, sent it along. And again, this is Southern Star, specifically Paragon. And it is a wheated straight bourbon. Comes in at 92 proof. It is distilled, aged, and bottled by Southern Distilling Company out of Statesville, North Carolina. I don't know how much the bottle costs. I don't know how easy or hard it is to find. But this is specifically release number 005. So I'm thinking that that's the batch number. And so it sounds like they're a young company. This is not an age-stated whiskey. Let me see if there's something on the back. Our Paragon wheated bourbon captures the distinct essence of a traditional North Carolina whiskey. From our local grains to your glass, this is something to be savored. enjoy. So, yeah, it's not age stated, but I'm pretty excited to give this a try because I've never had it. I've never heard anything about it. He likes it. He was very clear. He wanted us to be honest when we rate it. When we drink it, talk about what we enjoy or don't enjoy about it. So don't filter your comments, and let's see what we think about this.
Yeah. Well,
thank you again for the whiskey.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Yes, appreciate it. That nose,
I like the nose a lot. It's
I
nutty.
do too. That's got a very strong honey sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a payday bar. You
I
know,
haven't
that
had
like
a payday in forever. I was thinking it to me, it's got a nose of honey and lemon.
See,
Like
I didn't pick up the lemon as much as I pick up like a nut and like kind of like caramel, honey, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the nut I get for sure.
I don't get a nut at all.
No. Yeah, it's a very nice nose. A little musty too, in a good way.
I love that nose.
Yeah.
That nose is very inviting. There's no harshness to it at all.
Good legs. The glass.
You know, that's one of the problems with me using the same glass over and over is that I can't tell which legs are from this, but it does. Yeah, it does keep a nice line.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Wow, that's a sweet guy.
That is sweet.
But a nice long finish. Like I felt it go down my throat and it just stays like I can just feel it stay right there. And it's neat because it like slowly like it coats your throat and you feel the warmth. Not a whole lot of hug, but like I felt it coat my throat.
It's like drinking a tea or something.
And then slowly fades down. Like I could feel it fade down too. Like really neat.
It's like drinking a tea almost. Like a hot tea where you get, if you're a little sick.
I can see that, yeah.
Drink that, yeah. Get lemon on the back end too, for sure.
Yeah, that's very unique. I think it's solid.
I've never tasted a whiskey like this. It's very different.
It's easy, like it's super easy to sip. It's got flavor to it, but you can tell that it's a low proof whiskey, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no hiding the fact that it's 90 to 92 proof. Not to say that the flavors are weak, but they're short-sighted, or not short-sighted.
Each one is kind of dainty.
Yes, there you go.
They don't overstay its welcome. So I agree that the flavor's not weak, but at the same time, if you mixed it with anything, I think it would go quick. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But it does have a pretty long finish. Like I still have it on the back of my tongue and the upper part of my throat. Like it's been a minute to a minute and a half since I like had a sip. It's still stating its presence.
But even that being said, though, it's not like, I think a lot of times when people talk about finish, they think there was some sort of hug involved, some level of hug. And since there's no hug at all, if you had this mixed with anything, not that you're advocating for that, but if you had it mixed with anything, unlike other things with some sort of finish, typically, this one's just going to get lost in whatever aftertaste you have in the other things. You know, it's not going
100%.
to stand out because of that.
100%. There's a very small, short hug. So if that's what you're going for, this is going to be a miss. There's not much there. But again, I'm separating the hug from the finish. And I think that you're exactly right, Stephen. I think you're right. That a lot of people do conflate the two or merge the two. And they are completely separate things. And yeah, and I think you're right. I can't see you mixing this.
No.
I can see this being the whiskey of choice for the grandma treating her grandkid who's got a cold. Saying, let me give you some whiskey and some lemon, because that'll make you feel better. Because everybody's grandma gives them whiskey when they get sick, right?
All my grandparents died, so
but they gave you whiskey before they died, right?
Oh, they all died young, dude.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure they would have if they didn't die young.
I mean, they seem like the type that would have.
Yeah. Yeah. If I knew them.
Yeah.
No.
Sounds like we need to wrap up this episode for Ryan's sake.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's got 12 minutes.
Yeah. But being like, because I just got over strep B, I drink a lot of tea.
Yeah.
A lot of like throat coat, lemon, agave, everything in this hot tea. And it I could have poured a shot of this into that tea and it would have went perfectly.
Yeah.
There's like a sort of crispness to it too that I like.
Little refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
It's
see
cool. That. It's cool. I don't think, have we ever had a North Carolina whiskey before? I don't think so, right? I mean, maybe is there some sort of something grown in North Carolina that they use in the distillery process that maybe others
arsenic.
don't?
We got poisoned by one of our.
Oh man, yeah.
Hey, it was sealed. It was sealed.
I was gonna ask, make sure it was sealed. Like, there's nothing weird.
So he invested in a resealer. I mean, you know.
No,
Yeah.
Come on now, he wouldn't do that. I will say,
I literally don't know if you would.
Yeah. we should have had him on for for this, or at least
for
maybe
your crimes.
Yeah.
He would have declined.
You think so?
I don't know if he would have or not. I don't know. But I will say that I thought it was pretty funny. He actually wrapped, he was super worried that the bottle was going to make it through shipping. I know this because on top of the plastic wrapping and the standard seal, he had taken electrical tape and wrapped electrical tape all over the top of it. Not only that, but the dude, he must have spent probably $15 on bubble wrap and bubble wrapped the absolute shit out of this bottle and duct taped around the bubble wrap when he put it in the box. You could have shipped a baby the way he did it and it would make it through the postal service. No problem. A plane could have crashed and this bottle would have been fine.
This bottle would have survived on flight 93 or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He shipped it in a black box. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, he did a stellar job of packing and shipping.
That was very thoughtful.
It was.
Because I know we don't ship bottles, we ship, things like this, and I remember the first few times shipping, I went overboard, and now I'm just like, I'll have, whatever.
Yeah.
Package it, send it. Do the bare minimum of packaging, right? Where it's going to be fine. But that was very, very nice and thoughtful.
It seems like your motto for a while has been just do the bare minimum.
Right.
Almost his entire life.
Well, I buy the nice fucking webcam, dude. All right. I go the extra mile.
Yeah,
You
you'll throw
know,
money at it. You'll buy the name brand stuff. I'll give you that.
I don't know if it's name brand. I don't, how do I know? I got the Blue Yeti microphone
Let's see it.
per
What color
your
is it?
request.
That's not blue.
What's the name brand of it though?
Oh wow, you just fucked his audio forever, Dan.
Oh shit, is it fucked?
Yeah. God damn.
No.
God damn it.
There he goes.
No, that's good. You're good.
Is it back? Is it back?
Yeah. Literally never touch that again. Weld that to your desk.
Southern Star Paragon. What do we think of it?
I'm a fan. I like it. I dig it. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. And I think it's a cool. I think the time we're in right now where everyone's sick, I'm appreciating it a lot more. I don't know necessarily. It is easy. It's an easy sipper. It's easy to drink, but this time of year, it really, really fits the current environment. I feel like.
Yeah.
I dig it. I like the Sacred Stave a lot. Asbury Park was good too. This is the most unique of the three, right? For sure. I haven't had a whiskey that has really tasted like this. I mean, Sacred Stave might be my number one, but it's kind of 1A, 1B with the Paragon. It's interesting.
I think it's kind of cool that we kind of went from most like traditional whiskey, kind of American whiskey notes, and we progressively through these three whiskeys went to, I think, more unique like with each bottle. So I think that Sacred Stave, if you just tell me like of these three whiskeys, if I had them on hand, and you tell me that you're a fan of American whiskey, I think I could give most people Sacred Stave and they would like it. I think it's just a really solid sipper. You can mix it with stuff. It's just one of those that kind of like Wild Turkey 101, you can hand it to somebody, they're probably gonna like it. You know, Asbury Park, it's a little more divisive, I think. It's kind of acidic, it's kind of, yeasty on the nose. At least for this, granted for this particular batch. And then you have the Southern Star, which is very unique. And again, I don't know that I've had anything quite like it, both on the nose and on the palate. And then it has this unique finish to it that we kind of struggled to describe because it's kind of in a league of its own with the type of finish that it has. So I think our scores are just going to reflect kind of what we're in the mood for tonight more than most nights because, it's just, did you want that just typical whiskey? Or if you're, more into some of those other notes, I could see you going like, oh, I'm going to give it, a 9 to Southern Star just because it's so different.
I'm a big fan of this Southern Star. And one of the things that I want to point out is that we really enjoyed the Sacred Stave. But the Sacred Stave, there's one thing about the Sacred Stave that is gives it an advantage. And that's a finishing process. They finished it in Cabernet casks. That's kind of like it's not cheating. It's certainly not cheating. It's somebody saying, hey, let's see how this plays off of each other, and it benefits the whiskey as a final product. But this is just distilled and barreled, then blended as it comes out of the barrel and put into the bottle. To me, that makes it a little bit more challenging, right? Like you can take some rough edges off of a whiskey by finishing it in a barrel that previously held a wine or anything, right? Any sort of a finishing process can take some of those rough edges off of a bottle. This didn't have that luxury. The Asbury Park didn't have that luxury either. And I just want to throw out there that that's, although we really enjoyed the Sacred Stave, that's one thing that this didn't benefit from was that additional casking finishing process.
It's definitely for more more the whiskey drinker who's looking for something a little different, right? More on the indie top 20, right? The music Steven likes, and that's what these whiskeys are,
You know,
which is a good thing.
I was just thinking about when I first started drinking whiskey too, based on what you just said, Ryan. And if I was living in the North Carolina area and I had the Southern Star maybe as one of my first whiskeys, I feel like if I reversed my whiskey experience and I tasted this first, I would I could see myself definitely preferring this. You know what I mean? As you're dipping your toes into whiskey and everything else, you're just like, it doesn't quite have that like same taste that I'm looking for all of a sudden. If you try this and you latch onto it, there's not a lot else that's going to kind of scratch the itch that
Yeah.
I've had, you know? So it's a matter of when you have things sometimes that it influences you.
Yeah. Good
From a consumer perspective, I think the label definitely needs a change.
Yeah.
I think it does remind me of, a private label Fred Minnick whiskey from Total Wine. And I think there's some close copyright infringement to Lone Star beer, personally. And when you think of the South, you don't really think of North Carolina, right? I know it's the South, but I think there's some rebranding they can do to sort of honor that North Carolina heritage more than they are, because it looks like a bottle from Texas.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's another thing. The Southern Star name is kind of generic in itself. And all this stuff about like, the aesthetic of like the South and it being like a whiskey heritage thing. I don't want to separate that from it, but to me, it's just like everybody can't claim to be, the good old boys making whiskey. There's got to be, you got to stand out. And with juice that's this unique, stand out more. You know what I mean? Have a slightly different approach. And it is like, imagine if you received this bottle, it was called something else, it had a different label that was more unique to North Carolina. You wouldn't have had as much trepidation to it. So,
Yeah. Like the three of us, if we're in a store, none of us are picking that bottle just off the shelf. Right? Like now that we've had it and we see it, we're like, all right, here's a different offering, one that we haven't tried. We'll for sure pick it up because we were lucky enough to get this from our listener. But from a shelf perspective, it gets lost in the shuffle there.
North Carolina is the South, right? Like, but I think that a lot of people, when you think of the South, some people would put Virginia as seeming more Southern than North Carolina for whatever reason. Even though, let's not forget the Appalachians in North Carolina. And I think that that's what you guys are hitting at, that this company could really, like, especially if Statesville is in that region, like Maggie Valley they have a huge moonshiner get together every year in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Like that is the mecca of moonshine.
Looks like they're an hour and a half north of Charlotte and about an hour west of Winston-Salem.
So they're not up in the mountains?
I don't think so. I don't think they're far. I mean, Asheville's probably only an hour and a half away, right? Like,
yeah, but
like you're in North Carolina whiskey and you're not really honoring the state. Like, you could still honor those mountains and not be a mountain town.
Yeah.
I've never seen a whiskey on the shelf that says from North Carolina. If I saw that, I would gravitate towards it more than think like, oh, that's like a TX whiskey ripoff or something.
It does seem very Texas with the star.
Yeah, I mean, can I see the bottle one more time? I mean, that's the color. I mean, everything to it. It screams Texas.
Yeah. But it's a damn fine whiskey.
It's very good.
To your point about, the way I thought you were going with this is what I was thinking, which is when people think Southern, what they really think is Southern in central United States.
Yeah.
I never really think of the South, even though it's valid, as being any coastal state.
Yeah.
There's just something mentally about
not even South Carolina.
No, not really. No.
I mean, I think, you're definitely right about Florida you can group in there, but like Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, Yeah,
Yeah,
those are Tennessee to an extent, right? And
yeah.
even Virginia seems like it's next to Texas when it's not, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what it is mentally, but it just seems like the identity actually comes more from the Midwest than the South itself. Because then you could, because I would even argue that some stuff that's more northern has usually a more southern feel, like even like in Idaho or something. You know what I mean? Which I know is it's kind of weird, but it's just that it's just the identity of states and
Yeah.
things and the culture and the mentality of it more than the geographic region, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing to me. If somebody said they're from the South and then they said it was like South Carolina, I'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but it's not the first 5 or 6 states I would have,
Yeah.
guessed. Do we want to rate this one since we rated the other two previously, but do we want to rate this one?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll go first. Unless somebody else wants to.
No, go
What are
ahead.
you?
I'm gonna go with an 8-3. I think it's a really solid pour. It's got a lot of really good flavors to it. Yeah, I got to take that 8-3 back. I'm gonna go with a 7-8. And the reason for the change was, I just took a second sip from this new pour, and it doesn't have enough oomph to it. It doesn't have enough kick to make it into the 8s. It's a really solid pour. I'm not taking that away from it. It's got some really great flavors, but it can't be in the 8s. So it's got to be a 7-8. For me, maybe you guys disagree, but it's interesting. It's interesting. It's unique, very unique. Got good flavors to it. It's a craft distillery. Um, all of those things are good. I could see a lot of people enjoying it. I wouldn't, even if I could mix it, I wouldn't want to, because it's just got a good enough flavor that I just want to drink it on its own. So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7-8. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm actually in the 8s, but the low 8s. I was gonna go an 8 too. I had this in my head since probably like 2 or 3 sips in. I just really liked it. I being this time of year, like the sort of, the hot tea throat coat that I've been drinking lately that I really like. This just reminds me of that. It reminds me of, if you want to feel better because you feel like shit, this is the whiskey you drink. And I appreciate that a lot. I've never had something like this. It's very intriguing. I would love to know the mash bill just to see what they do. Like, did it say the complete mash bill? I know
No,
it just said wheated, right?
it just said weeded straight bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, which it didn't really read. I know it's sweet, but it wasn't overly sweet like a wheated bourbon often is, right?
Right.
But I liked it. I like the lemonness to it. Reminded me of drinking a hot tea. It was just a pleasant experience, and it's something I will probably be thinking about going into tomorrow, which is cool because most whiskeys I drink, I tend to forget about the next day. So yeah, 8-2.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think it's right there. It's a strong, really solid score. Um, it's it's under an 8 for me because I agree with you that there's not enough, you know, whatever it is, that quality that just elevates it enough. But I'm betting that if this is indicative of some of their other offerings, if they have like a slightly higher proof one, I could see that bringing out a few more of those qualities, elevating them a little bit more. Um, or not, or I would, or it wouldn't surprise me to find that this one is the one that's dialed in, and the other ones I don't like, because it's just uncharted territory for me. But I give it a 7.5 in part because I think it's a really solid sipper, a unique and enjoyable nose and palate, but um, it's memorable, you know, and that's something that it kind of reminds me of Sweetheart of the Rodeo, where it's like it's just one of those that you think of like over the course of doing the show. It's one of those surprises that comes out, and it's just like Is it my favorite whiskey of all time? No, but it's a really, really good whiskey that I hope I'm able to get more often in the future and just keep up with and try again. It's one I'll remember for sure.
You know, you just hit the nail on the head, Stephen. Like there are 7.5s and 7.8s that are like memorable, and then there's other 7.5s and 7.8s that are just throwaways. And this is one that is absolutely memorable. And I love your reference to Sweetheart of the Rodeo, because that's one that, like, Ryan, when you provided it to us like that to us, had no idea what we were stepping into. And I cannot tell you the number of times that somebody has mentioned, "Oh, I'm going to be in this area. You know, is there anything I should look for?" And that's the one I always go to. If you're in Texas and you're looking for something, look for Sweetheart of the Rodeo, because you can't get it outside of the state as far as I can find. And it's just such a pleasant, enjoyable pour. And this is my go-to. You're in North Carolina, stop by the ABC and see if you can find some Paragon, because I don't know that you can get it. I don't know. Maybe you can. But regardless, you should be able to get it at North Carolina is state controlled. All of their state liquor stores are called ABC stores. So you should be able to get it at your ABC in North Carolina. That's now my North Carolina recommendation. Grab one. You're going to enjoy it.
Another brother show. Another brother show. Another brother show.
I definitely have an unwillingness to learn. And I don't really care to learn any of it. But I'm doing what I can for you guys and for my job. So you're welcome.
Wow.
So,
Thank
like
you.
Stephen said, doing the bare minimum.
Well, I don't know if it's the bare minimum.
Oh, okay.
It's minimum, but it's not bare.